Hey guys, how are you all doing? I hope you're all doing fantastic today. Today's one is going to be a little bit of a shorter video, but either way, I want to update you guys on the latest Nexar news just before the weekend. So, what is up everyone, I'm Mysticle, and let's jump right into the news video. First things first, I don't know about you, but I use my Quest and Quest 2 for quite a bit of fitness activity. While my room is quite small, when I put on the Quest, I can imagine that it's quite a bit larger than it actually is. And while this does sometimes cause really stupid problems, looking at the hole in my wall, whether it's playing Beat Saber or whether it's slashing someone in Blade and Sorcery, all of those things are physical activity. It's not just me sitting at a keyboard playing a flat screen game, which a few years ago would have totally just been stupid. But now Meta is actually classifying the Quest as a fitness device, even advertising it as such on massive billboards, and tons of people are using it as such. And those people, like myself, tend to use the Oculus Fitness Tracker, which works pretty damn nice, to be honest with you. But until now, it's only had access to sync up with Apple devices. So if you wanted to take that data out of the fitness app and transfer it into an app that you'd be using daily, like for example, I use Google Fit with my watch, you would not have been able to do that unless you owned an iPhone and transferred it to Apple Health, which sucks for me because I don't own an iPhone. So I'm really excited to announce that we now finally have access to transfer that data to Android's Google Fit, which to me is a pretty big deal, because that means I can finally have all of my fitness information in one place. Let me read you from this article in Upload VR. Formerly known as Oculus Move, the feature on Quest headsets monitors your physical activity to track the calories you burn in VR, your move minutes, and your workout intensity. It's mainly intended for fitness apps like Supernatural, but it works in all apps and gives you a per-app breakdown of the stats. Meta added support for syncing move stats to Apple Health via the iPhone app in the summer, but Android was absent until now, which, if you ask me, is still pretty crazy, considering the Quest actually runs Android. I guess, in my head, Android to Android makes a lot more sense. Several popular fitness services exist on Android phones. The syncing happens through Google's Health Connect app. It lets you share the health data between the various platforms. So it's not just Google Fit that you'll be able to transfer to. Using Google's Health Connect, you'll be able to transfer to, hopefully, one of your favorite fitness apps, which is great. To enable this, you'll first need to set up Move to Sync on the Quest phone app via the toggle inside VR. Once you've done that, install Health Connect on your phone and give the Meta Quest app permissions to write to it. Meta's instructions also mention having to enable Health Connect in the Quest app. I haven't tried it yet, but as soon as I'm done with this video, it's going to be one of the first things I set up. It's going to be nice finally having all my data in one place and not having to skip over to the Quest if I want to gather that data. So, with that being said, let's move on to the next piece of news. Here we go. Quite a few of you in the comments section, for the first time in forever, are actually excited about a Vive device. And yeah, HTC's Vive XR Elite is much cheaper than $1,500. It's actually $1,100, and a lot of people are quite excited for it. A lot of people that were going to go for the Quest Pro are now instead going to decide to go for the Vive XR Elite. And following its reveal, HTC has also confirmed which games and apps will arrive during the headset's launch window. Of course, we've talked about this during the Pico 4 review. A headset in itself, the specs and how it looks, doesn't really make much sense if your software sucks and if the games aren't there. So this is going to be quite a big important part of how well HTC's headset does. This headset was of course announced during CES of 2023, even though we had leaks before that. It's still got the same Snapdragon XR2 Gen 1 CPU that is seen inside most standalone headsets. And while its resolution and its refresh rate aren't nothing to fanboy about, it still looks like a pretty decent headset. Here's a big long list of the games that are supported. I was going to read all of them out, and then I realized that the list is actually quite long. So in case you're interested, I am of course going to leave a link down below. But let me tell you about some of the most important or kind of most popular games that I feel like you guys will know. Demio is of course going to be one of them. Epic, Engage, Enhanced VR, some of you might know those. Gravity Sketch VR, Green Hell VR, that's a pretty big one. Hyperdash, Immersed, OpenBrush, of course, for those of you that like painting in VR, PokerStars VR, Puzzling Places, Salmon Max, this time it's virtual, Swarm, T for God, Ultra Wings 2, Unplugged, Virtual Desktop is actually going to be supported, which is epic, because that means you can play wireless PC VR games, which is great right out of the box, with Virtual Desktop, which is my preferred way of playing PC VR games on devices like this, and of course the list goes on and on. So in case you want to check it out, I'm going to leave a link down below. I think if we were to read all that, we'd make the video 15 minutes long. Talking about games, Walkabout Mini Golf's DLCs now have a price increase of $3.99. So starting with an upcoming Atlantis course, Walkabout Mini Golf will begin begin charging $3.99 for future DLCs, though existing DLC prices will remain unaffected. Walkabout Mini Golf is one of my favorite games to play in multiplayer in VR. It's a nice party game that you can actually end up playing with your family and friends, and it's been a lot of fun. And I know that a lot of you are also enjoying Walkabout Mini Golf. So developer Mighty Coconut announced that future DLC prices will be $3.99 instead of $2.99. So not a massive increase, but it's definitely still an increase. So yeah, in case that's something that interests you, or in case that's something that will impact you in the future, it's there. Let's move on to the next piece of news. Here's one that I'm actually quite upset about. Mojo Vision, the company that was working on AR contact lenses, and everything seemed to be going pretty well if you ask me. In fact, last we talked about them, we had pretty good updates on the device and how it's working and things like that. However, I've got some bad news. Apparently, Mojo Vision is ceasing work on those AR contact lenses. I was quite excited for them. I mean, I myself wear glasses, so if I could enhance that in some way and possibly make it better, AR contact lenses would definitely be the way to go. The sci-fi sounding device was first announced in early 2020. It integrated a tiny micro-LED display, ARM processor, IMU, accelerometer and gyroscope, wireless radio, and micro battery into a contact lens frame. The idea was to give you a heads-up display without the need for glasses, which would have been great. Last year, the company released a major milestone, and this is actually what we talked about. Its CEO became the first person to actually wear the device in his eye, but due to significant challenges in raising capital, Perkins announced last week that the company can no longer afford to continue developing the Mojo lens. It always comes down to this, doesn't it? It comes down to capital, it comes down to how much money you can raise as you're innovating. You're creating something new, and a lot of money is required for that. You're creating something that hasn't been done before. And unfortunately, it looks like here, Mojo Vision just couldn't raise that capital and had to stop working on the device. This is highly unfortunate, as again, this was one of the most exciting devices that I was waiting for. It seemed in my head like this was truly sci-fi and truly futuristic, but unfortunately, it looks like we won't be getting it at least anytime soon. Maybe sometime in the future. And with that being said, next piece of news. Finally, we're gonna end off with a new game coming to Quest, or a new experience actually kind of coming to Quest. MLK Now's the Time launches on Quest today. MLK Now's the Time seeks to highlight Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy through a new VR experience available today on the Meta Quest 2. Taking its name directly from part of Dr. King's famous I Have a Dream speech, Now is the Time examines its themes and his impact 6 decades later. Presented through first-person stories, this new VR experience highlights his continued influence in modern-day protests, including audio clips from the speech throughout. So in case you guys are interested in that, I'm going to leave a link to the full article down below. And in case you want to check out the experience, I'm also going to leave a link to that down below. I find VR is great at things like this. It's great at bringing you back in time. It's great at showing you things physically that you wouldn't be able to do in real life. Of course, you put on a headset, you can essentially be transported back in time. Yeah, sure, it will mostly be cartoony, and photogrammetry isn't entirely there yet. Plus, you can't exactly do photogrammetry of something that doesn't exist anymore. But it's still a much better representation than showing someone a 2D image, say, of something on a phone. You can't really see the scale of that there. While, say, a dinosaur in VR, you can truly witness the scale of that. It's an incredible medium to show things like this, educate, and show people how things truly were. I don't know. Am I the only one thinking that? Let me know down below. And as usual, that is going to be it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. It costs you nothing and it helps the channel out a lot. If you disliked it, I guess this button works too, but let me know why down below. Thank you so much to the patrons supporting this channel. You guys help me out a ton, paying my bills, paying my subscriptions, and helping me make these videos better. And if you guys are not yet part of the community, check out the Discord, check out the Reddit down below. I want to see you posting your spicy memes on there. And as usual, if you want to be notified about future content coming up on the channel, make sure to smack the subscribe button with your forehead, ding my bell, and see you again in the next video. Peace.